There we go. There we go. Up is on. Yep.
Oh yeah.
There you go. go. Welcome to our regular board meeting of February 8th, 2022. We are calling this board meeting to order at 5:36. Item number 1, roll call. Rojas. Present.
Present. Present. Present.
Thank you, Mrs. Rojas. Item number 2, approve agenda of regular board meeting of February 8th, 2022 with the following correction. In the consent calendar, item number 9, routine personnel actions. Item number 4, for Gomez Marie Teresa, it should read instead of $38, $41 an hour. Same for item number 5, Milan Irma, instead of $38, it should be $41. Same for item number 6, Nanda Christine, instead of 38, it should be $41 an hour. Item number 8, Smith Melissa, instead of $38 an hour, should be $41 an hour. And last but not least, item number 9, Paredes Jennifer, 38 an hour, should read 41 an hour. That being said, can I get a motion to approve the regular board meeting agenda for February 8, 2022?
Motion to approve the agenda as presented with changes.
Thank you, Mrs. Flores. Thank you, Ms. Stanzioni. Roll call. Ms. Rivera.
Aye.
Ms. Flores.
Aye.
Ms. Stanzioni.
Aye.
And I. Motion carries 4-0. Item number 2, open session. Pledge of allegiance. Ms. Yareli Perez, would you mind leading us?
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Place your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ms. Perez. Item number 2, student board representative report. Ms. Yareli Perez and Emily Anaya.
Our announcements for Basta High School. Good evening. To begin our announcement, I would first like to congratulate our boys soccer, boys basketball, girls basketball, and the wrestling team for making it to CIF. The boys soccer team received a wild card to play tomorrow at 5 p.m. against Maranata. Our boys basketball team played their first round this Friday at 7 p.m. against Marshall at Pasadena. Our girls basketball team played home this Saturday at 7 p.m. against Westminster. And finally, our wrestling team, which only consists of 2 people, Max Arroyo, who made it into first place, and Ruben Chavez, who made it into second, had their CIF match this Friday and Saturday at Temecula High School. Good luck to you all. Prom season is approaching, and this year we'll be having prom at the House of Blues in Anaheim. Tickets are now being sold at the activities office. Keep in mind, prices will go up every week, so make sure to buy them while prices are mild. Spring sports are starting this week. If you are interested in joining softball, track, badminton, and baseball, make sure to come out. And that concludes our announcements. Thank you.
Good evening. Announcements for Banwick. This week is School Counselor Appreciation Week. We would like to recognize our school counselor, Ms. Carrillo, for all the work she does here at Banwick. In addition to all her job duties, Ms. Carrillo has taken on helping our RTI program by providing small group instruction to students. She provides whole group SEL lessons in classrooms and has partnered with our independent studies teacher to help with short-term independent studies contract that allows students to continue learning who are out due to quarantine or isolation orders. She is an indispensable resource here at Van Wyck, and we are grateful to have her as part of our Van Wyck family. Our TK and kinder students celebrated their 100th day of school on January 31st. They celebrated with the modified COVID-safe parade around campus, showing off their 100-day hats and many activities related to the number 100. The fifth graders celebrated their 1000th day of school with a 1000th day project. It was a great day to celebrate 100 days of in-person learning. We invite you to our virtual school site council meeting on Wednesday, February 9th. Details and links will be posted on our school website. We will be discussing our school safety plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Perez and Ms. Anaya. We move on to item number 3, public comments related to closed session items. This is the appropriate point in the agenda for those present to speak with regards to any closed session items on the agenda. Only topics specific to the actual closed session items will be heard at this time. Topics which do not address closed session items will be heard during open session comments. First, we have Kevin Tunnel.
My name is Kevin Tunnell, and I've been a teacher with Bassett Unified School District for 21 years. When I started my career 21 years ago, the teachers of Bassett were in the middle of the pack when it came to teacher salaries. Bassett paid their teachers equitable and comparable to the rest of the teachers in the San Gabriel Valley. But it wasn't until recently that I was informed by my union negotiators about how far we have fallen. I want to thank my BTA union negotiators publicly and my union leadership for providing me with this fact that teachers in Bassett are ranked 44 out of 47 lowest paid teachers. Thank you for agitating me into action. This fact was shocking, disappointing, and truly disrespectful. This fact proves to me we as teachers in Bassett are not respected. I have a question. Do you believe in equity, board members? I met with the superintendent in the beginning of the year concerning another inequity last August, and I asked this question. The superintendent stated, quote, "Yes, of course I do." Well, I ask you again on this matter to the board members as well. Is this equity? The only word that I can come up with is disrespect. What it shows to me is that the leadership of Bassett does not respect the teachers, and enough is enough. Let me give you the most recent example of disrespect from this district leadership. As a teacher and a professional, I have to be prepared for my students every day. I need to plan in advance, engaging lessons for my students, and I need to be prepared for the days and weeks ahead. I'm required to be ready and prepared when the bell rings. But the district apparently has a mentality of what is required of them is not required of me. Let me illustrate. At the close of the last negotiation session on January 18th between the district negotiators and my union negotiators, at the end, the BTA negotiators sent out a communique, and it read, quote, "They," meaning the district, "admitted that they were not prepared to discuss these items," which were the numbers at the table. So I have to be prepared at all times, but they do not? What comes to my mind is hypocrisy. Do you see the disrespect? And that is just one example. Enough is enough. We have all heard phrases like talk is cheap. You are what you do, not what you say you'll do. Or the famous actions speak louder than words. Well, let me read to you a few words and then some actions, and let's see if they match. Here are some quotes from a superintendent 2 superintendents ago. Quote, "On behalf of the Board of Education, let me extend a sincere thank you for all of your work. It does not go unnoticed, and it is appreciated." Well, with that superintendent, the action was about a 1% on salary increase to the Bassett teachers for 3 years that person was here. Next, here are the words from the previous superintendent to the Bassett teachers. Quote, this is a good one. As we begin this week of celebrating our heroes, our teachers, I would like to extend my gratitude to each of you for what you do each day. You teach, you assess learning, you become counselors and mentors and incredible listeners. You provide a safe place for kids to express themselves and to learn to succeed in spite of their circumstances. End quote. And with that superintendent, the action was 0 on-schedule salary increase for the Bassett teachers. Do you see a pattern here? Oh, but the pattern continues. Here are a few words from the current superintendent to the Bassett teachers. Quote, the district is truly appreciative of what you do. Well, let me say this. Actions speak louder than words. And I'm tired of all talk and no action. Enough is enough.
Thank you, Mr. Tennell. Up next, we have Carla Mahaffey.
Good evening, members of the board, superintendent. My name is Carla Mahaffey, and I've been a teacher in Bassett since August of 2000. I love and respect everyone that cares about the success of our Bassett students. As you all are aware, I brought my own daughters and my other children that I raised to Bassett schools because of the quality education Bassett provided. If I were to grade Bassett when my children were small, Bassett deserved an A or outstanding for how teachers and staff were regularly treated with respect while being paid at a competitive rate. Currently, Bassett deserves an A+ in respect and value displayed to classified management and administration, as these individuals make 198% above the average in comparison of Los Angeles County Unified School District. Bassett pays these people almost 200% above average and expects the competency and work productivity to follow. This is not a criticism. This is something Bassett should be applauded for. However, if I were to grade Bassett in salary for teachers, Bassett ranks below average, definitely a need to improve, and is at risk for failure. However, 200% is still expected from our teachers. Many teachers here in Bassett have talked about feeling emotionally drained when working in a climate without respect and value that we once felt. And below average pay doesn't make it any easier. The Wall Street Journal put out an article last week entitled "Teachers Are Quitting and Companies Are Hot to Hire Them." The article quotes teachers' ability to absorb and transmit information quickly, manage stress, and multitask as being high demand skills. The truth is Bassett can afford to pay classified management and admin above average, and the district can afford to bring teachers below average pay to above average to meet them. Every one of our board members has direct experience working within or in the educational system. And I ask you to do the right thing to provide teachers with an acceptable wage on par with our neighboring school districts. Tom Covington, our negotiations lead, spoke for BTA at the last board meeting, explaining Bassett's numbers. Please review your expectations for our district by evaluating pay equity by using LACO reports. Let's stop paying Bassett teachers below average and give them the pay that they deserve. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Mahaffey. Up next, we have Paola Rubalcaba.
Good afternoon, Board of Directors. My name is Paola Rubalcaba. I am a parent of 2 students at Don Julian Elementary. I am a product of LAUSD, and my son attended 2 years at LAUSD. I'm here today to support Bassett teachers and staff. Based on personal experience, I can tell you that the 2 districts pale in comparison. And the differences that we've seen is made possible thanks to the teachers and staff. At a very young age, I knew my son was hyperactive, and I thought it was normal and that he would grow out of it. I have no medical degree, nor do I have an educational profession to be able to assess my son's needs. It wasn't until we moved to this area and enrolled him at Don Julian that my son received the education, support, and tools he needed to thrive. His 3rd grade teacher, Ms. Rodriguez, was able to observe, identify, assess, and provide the resources my son needed, along with other instructors and staff. That same year, I ran into one of his former LAUSD teachers. She inquired about him. And when she learned that he was in this district, she was relieved. She said, he'll do better there. He will get the attention and support he needs that we could not provide at LAUSD. I walked away knowing that there are teachers in other districts who know the quality of teachers and staff in this district. And I walked away confident knowing that my son was in good hands. We as parents invest in our children as best we can with the tools readily available to us. But we as parents know that we need the support of our teachers. And teachers invest in our students as best they can with the resources readily available to them. So my question is, what can we do together to invest in our teachers? An investment in our teachers and invest in our students. As a former community organizer, I'm here and I'm ready to collect signatures, make calls, bring petitions, canvas, you name it, I'm ready. And I ask that we work together and that we stand for teachers. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rubalcaba. Up next, we have Gustavo Tamayo.
Good afternoon, board members. My name is Gustavo Tamayo. I go to the school called Don Julian. I am a 6th grader, and I am 11 years old. I really want to become a doctor when I grow up, and that will really be made possible by the teachers I have over here. And just like how my teachers help me, it's your job to help my teachers. They really deserve it because they're worth it. If you're a teacher, please stand. If you're staff at BUSD, please stand. If you support BUSD, please stand. These are the people who are fighting for more pay, and it's really your job to help them. If you pay them more, you'll give us a very huge guarantee and more education and help for other students. And I hope in the end, it will work out how we want it to be.
Thank you, Mr. Tamayo. Up next, we have Rose Escobar.
Good evening, board. My name is Rose Gudiel Escobar. I'm a parent of a child in Don Julian. My daughter is in 2nd grade, and I can tell you that this pandemic has really made it very difficult for her. And I could see the hard work that these teachers go through when I had to try to teach her when she was at home. I think that this is a very hard job and it should be respected. And I'll be honest with you, I was pretty offended when I heard that they have not gotten a raise in 10 years. How is that possible? How can these teachers do their job right when they're probably thinking of how they're gonna pay the inflation rates that are going up. All of you here are here because of a teacher. You wouldn't be in the positions that you are sitting where you're sitting if you weren't educated. I really want you to put your hand in your heart and remember that struggle. As a minority that we are, it's a struggle to try to get ahead. And if our kids are not having what they need, then it makes it even harder. Last week, my daughter was without homework because the printer didn't work. A few months back, the air conditioner wasn't working. All of that, I wouldn't really have that much of an issue because I know things happen. But when we're in a moment of a pandemic where these kids' health can be affected and even our teachers' health can be affected. And just by a runny nose or anything that could cause their immune system to go down, your whole school can be infected. And what's gonna happen then? So I really ask you today to really put your hand in your heart and remember what struggle you had to go through to be where you're at, because that's what our teachers deserve and that's what our kids deserve. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Escobar. And lastly, we have Diana Lopez.
Good evening. My name is Diana Lopez, and this is my 25th year teaching, but it's my 20th year in Bassett. We are teaching students the importance of education, to go to college, get your degree. Well, I did that. You know, and telling my kids, my children, you know, you have to go to school, get your degree. And it bothered me. I'm like, I did that. I have my master's degree. You know, I can't because I don't make enough money. I made the decision to come to Bassett instead of another school district. And that breaks my heart. Should I advise students that want to be teachers to apply somewhere else, to do their research and choose a district that respects their teachers and staff? So, you know what, I never got into the teaching profession for the money, but I should earn a fair wage. It saddens and angers me that a person in their 6th year teaching at Hacienda La Puente earns about the same wage that I do in my 25th year teaching. I have been asked to fill out an application for Hacienda La Puente several times to go over there, but believe me, I'm tempted. But why should I have to leave my Bassett family in order to earn a fair wage? I want you to think about this. How would you feel making your salary from 2017 with the inflation of today of 2022? Can you do it? Would you be happy to do it? Would you struggle? Well, a lot of us are struggling. We need a fair wage. We're not being crazy, ridiculous, acting crazy for money. Just a fair wage. That's it. You know, I'm proud to be a teacher at Don Julian School. I love my Don Julian family, students, parents, and staff. I enjoy reconnecting with former students when they come to visit or to pick up a family member. I don't want to lose that. I love it here. Please don't make that end. So how long would it take for Bassett to pay employees a fair and competitive wage? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lopez. That concludes our closed session comments. We move on to item number 4, closed session. The board will be going into closed session at 6:01 p.m. there you go, sorry. Right, so, item number 5, reconvene to open session. We are reconvening at 8:21 PM. Item number 1, report of action taken in closed session. Mrs. Flores?
In closed session on a motion by Armando Barajas and a second by Patrice Stanzioni, and a vote of 3 members approved and 1 member opposed, the governing board took action to approve an additional settlement requirement of $2,000 for a total amount of $42,524 for claim number ASCW-010477, as advised by our third-party administrator, Sedgwick and Joint Powers Alliance for Cooperative Insurance. 3 members in favor, Mr. Barajas, Ms. Stanzioni, and Ms. Flores. Opposed was Ms. Rivera. Second action item, in a closed session on a motion by Mr. Barajas and a second by Ms. Stanzioni, a vote of 4 members approved and 0 opposed, the governing board took action to approve a settlement authority for 2 litigated claims amounting to a total of $75,000 for ASCV-009964 and ASCV-10042, 1 person. As advised by our third-party administrator, Sedgwick and Joint Powers Authority Alliance for Schools Cooperative Insurance Program. The board was unanimous.
Thank you, Mrs. Flores. We move on to item number 6, staff presentation / information. Item 1, math task force. Dr. Alvarez?
Thank you, Mr. Bras. At this time, I'd like Dr. Kennard present her team, who will be presenting on first math task force and then an update on the ethnic studies.
Good evening, Board President, board members, superintendent, and Bassett community. We are very pleased to bring you this evening a presentation regarding both the math task force and the ethnic studies task force. We've changed our process a little bit in Ed Services, and we're very pleased with this new structure. The ladies will explain it to you. We came together with a group of teachers and worked on these 2 very separate projects, and they're going to present the results to you tonight. So at the onset, we will have Ms. Viviana Bravo present the math task force information. Thank you.
Good evening, Board President, board members, superintendent, and Bassett community that is still here. My name is Viviana Bravo, and I'm currently one of the program specialists in educational services. And tonight I will be presenting information on the math task force. Before I begin, we'd like to thank the members of the math task force that participated and attended the meetings, as seen in this slide here. At our first meeting, we reviewed the data from the previous SBAC, as well as iReady data from the 2020-21 school year. After reviewing the data, members of the task force discussed the challenges and the best practices through a Padlet, where they were able to put their thoughts down anonymously as to what they thought could help improve the currently low performance outcomes in math. Some of the challenges that were mentioned were lack of the basic skills as well as student motivation. For best practices, they discussed that PLCs and supplemental curriculum was definitely a plus when it came to math curriculum. Next, in our second meeting, we discussed we read research in order to, after reviewing the data, we read research about what possible solutions could be implemented to help overcome the challenges that were discussed at the previous meeting. From the research, we came together and discussed strategies and activities that help produce an action plan. Within the action plan, the primary goal is by summer 2022, the number of students scoring at standard met or standard exceeded on the math SBAC will increase from 32.81%, which is from the 2018-2019 school year, to 40%. Within the action plan are programs and services that will help achieve the activities that are listed in the action plan. This plan was then shared with site administrators and task force members, which are now being implemented. Some of the activities are mentioned on the slide, such as implementing next gen math, modeling paper, think aloud and reflection, as well as providing multiple representations to help with the math curriculum. Additional meetings are going to be held next month in March, where we are going to review and analyze the most recent iReady and benchmark data. Then we are going to identify what worked and what didn't work from the action plan that we had created beforehand. And then we are going to adjust the action plan as needed. Thank you for your attention. And next is Ms. Galaviz with Ethnic Studies.
Good evening, Board President, Board members, Superintendent, and Bassett community. My name is Maritza Galaviz. This evening, I will be presenting the collaborative work of the Ethnic Studies Task Force. The overview of the implementation of ethnic studies based on Resolution 2321. We know ethnic studies curriculum allows students to interpret stories through multiple lenses, eliminates the danger of a single story, and finally cultivates empathy and a sense of community. We want to take a moment to acknowledge and thank the members of the Ethnic Studies Task Force who are listed on this slide. This slide speaks to the collaborative work completed. Our objective: students will have positive academic and social outcomes. The action taken: we were able to review the research, an article from Edutopia, and we also included the CBE framework. Let's review the outcome. The establishment of ethnic studies libraries at each school site. The libraries will consist of 2 books per grade level. The process will be a read aloud. Teachers will select a book significant to the month that month's celebration. Finally, our next step. We will meet as an Ethnic Studies Task Force to identify what went well and how to improve. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. We're happy to answer any questions. And I just did want to go over very quickly what the structure was that we changed. We met with the committee 3 successive times. Then they designed a plan. It's being implemented now. And toward the spring, as we come along into these next couple of months, we'll meet again and we'll analyze what went well, what do we need to adjust, and how do we need to improve the process. So for both of these task force, that was the structure that we implemented this time. So we're happy to answer any questions that you might have. Yes.
Okay. On the math task force, why isn't Texas, Edgewood, and Bassett represented? They're all from Don Julian.
So the math task force was a secondary math task force. So we were really looking at the scores for the secondary students. So it was 6th grade and up those were the teachers that were invited to participate in this particular math task force.
Why wasn't Ford and Edgewood represented if they're 6 and 8 also?
So
Why
everyone
also
was
Don Julian?
invited to participate. Those invitations went out. Invitations went out to the administrators and to work with their teachers to see who would like to participate in our task force. And those that were interested, we definitely worked with those.
Okay, could you repeat that again to make it clear? Because
I keep on getting calls that they're not invited or they're chosen. So could you repeat that invitations went out or how the process was?
Sure. We do this process all the time. So we are in the process, we're just seeking out volunteers, for book adoption that we're going to be looking at. So the process is we need a committee or a task force. We need to collaborate. We inform the administrators or we send an email out to all. And we say we're looking to establish a task force, book adoption committee, whatever the case may be. And then please let your administrators know if you're interested. And then we meet with the principals regularly and we continue to remind them and put out emails inviting all that are interested to participate in these particular groups.
Is that the same steps that you use for ethnic studies?
Correct, yes.
Okay, so along the lines of what Mr. Vera is saying, so ethnic studies, was that also for sixth grade and up?
No, ethnic studies was all grades.
Okay, so
Kindergarten.
ethnic studies, they actually, again, nobody from Edgewood, nobody from Sunkist at all. And maybe I'm off target here, but we're doing dual immersion Spanish, Sunkist. I would have thought we would have had somebody from Sunkist here to do dual immersion.
That's correct. But we do put the invitation out. As I said, we offered additional hourly pay for the work if, so we put the invitation, as I said, we put the invitation out and highly encourage those that are interested to participate.
Thank you.
Okay.
As far as going back to the math, what is the core curriculum that's used for those grade levels?
So we have California Math, Go Math, and Big Ideas.
And they all have their own benchmark testing, correct?
Yes, so what is being established for the secondary, we've had for the middle school, the benchmarks have been established. Secondary, it's been a work in progress, but we have established benchmarks for all grade levels, all content areas.
Have you found a significant difference between the iReady and the benchmark scores? Is that how, I'm just trying to ascertain how you came to a 40% standard met or exceeded, because that troubles me, 40%,
Yes.
even though I know it is 8 points up from your last. But my understanding of iReady, it doesn't correlate with core math materials that are accepted by the state. And it doesn't even go along with the state standards that much. So it's kind of like an outside entity testing our children off of what it chooses to test them on. So I really have a question about that when we know the benchmarks are based on what they're being taught. So I'm kind of curious, how were they put together to come up with this goal of 40%? And I'm concerned over if there's a huge difference between those two kind of scores.
So the decision, and please correct me if I'm wrong, if I missed anything in that meeting, but the decision was based on the SBAC scores. We looked at multiple data points, and those others that you mentioned were considered as to the overall performance of the students as a whole, because they do measure different aspects of their abilities. And so the one that is the most reliable is the SBAC score. And that's the score that we want to see improved. So that was the one that was decided upon as the objective to increase. And yes, we also agree 40% is not so high, because that's 60%, that's not. But we do believe this is incremental, and we work collaboratively with our group to say at this time, we're going to try these items to get to the next step, but always with the thought that we're going to keep on improving. These are just baby steps to get to a much higher level.
And your next meeting will be held in March. So you'll be looking at you'll be reviewing what you're doing.
Exactly.
Very good. Very
Yes.
good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You know, I see Ms. Stanzioni also circled the math 40%. And I did right next to it. I'm going to be absolutely honest. how realistic is it at this point? If we could jump from 32, 33 practically, not enough, to 40, I'm game. And if that happens, I mean, I'll be the first in line asking you, as soon as those scores come out, what can we do to jump again as a board so we can continue, of course, making sure that our kiddos continue improving significantly. But yeah, I mean, I love the enthusiasm. I hope that that goal is met. I was the one a couple of months back or a year back now. I was asking just for a 3-point jump, but I'll take 7 any day of the week. I do appreciate that. But yeah, I look forward to seeing those numbers. Hope that the strategies that y'all are implementing are working, and we get to see that, because at the end of the day, this will benefit our kiddos, our community, the quality of life we have at Unified School District. Thank you. I appreciate it.
And I fully believe that you're going to go way past the 8% as the kids get back into what they're doing, because we're still working with children that are very traumatized and very affected negatively. So don't beat yourselves up if that doesn't come, but no, I believe that it will.
Thank you. I'd like to add that the teachers, we did have a brief meeting with some of the high school teachers and the admin a couple of days ago. They are analyzing, they're preparing for the next benchmark. They are analyzing their data. We have really made, with Dr. Alvarez's support, we have made data everything. We continue to make it everything in the conversation. And they are analyzing their work, and they're adjusting their pacing guides. And they now have the students in person, so they're really understanding the whole child and making provisions for that. So I appreciate that.
On this ethnic study, is it gonna be taught in class, part of the curriculum, or is it,
Ethnic studies.
or is it just when we do the resolutions? I mean, how's it?
So
gonna
ethnic
work?
studies is a class at the high school level, but the charge was to provide ethnic studies from kinder on. So what we did was we met with the the task force, and we read some research, and we looked at the framework. And to this point, what the task force was comfortable with is identifying books that associated or spoke to, as Maritza was saying, more than one story, talked about the ethnicities and struggles and the champions and all of those types of things. And they identified books, appropriate books for each grade level. And so we're in the process of establishing these ethnic studies libraries. The book order has been processed. We went through the books a couple of times a list. So each teacher, it's a read aloud. So each teacher, if I'm a 3rd grade teacher, I could go into the ethnic studies library, check out the book of the month. If it's Hispanic Heritage Month, I'm going to go in there and get the appropriate book that's associated with that month. And I'm going to do a read aloud with my students for 2 or 3 weeks. And then there's 2 books, and then the other teacher can use that book. So that's the structure now. It's an ethnic studies library. Teachers were very excited about it. And we know that when the students come in from lunch, everybody needs a minute. So that's the plan, to make sure that these children are having the opportunities to learn about other ethnicities.
Thank you, ladies, for your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Medina Knard, Ms. Bravo, and Ms. Calapis. Item number 7, written communications. Move on to item number 8, public comments. The Board of Education welcomes input from public in order to conduct district business in an orderly manner. For the privacy and safety of speakers and to help staff respond more directly, board policies require that public presentations to the board comply with certain procedures, including speakers may address only items that are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board. When addressing the board, speakers are requested to state their name, address the board from the podium, and adhere to the applicable time limit of 3 minutes. Total time allotment for public input on either agenda or non-agenda items is limited to 20 minutes. Complaints should follow the district complaint procedures before discussion with the board. First is PTA. California School Employees Association, CSEA. Okay, and no public comments, which means we move on to item number 9. Superintendent comments. Dr. Alvarez.
Thank you, Mr. Bras, members of the board. Just a couple of notes. I know you'll be making a comment on Mr. Watanabe's passing away. And so I'll leave that to you, but I just want to thank again everybody for all the work they're doing during this pandemic and the amount of stress and workload that's being placed on everyone is difficult, especially when we've had this last surge. But as it goes down, just again, remember, we're here to support everyone. We're a team, and I just look forward to continue working through the rest of the school year. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Alvarez. We move on to item number 10, board member comments. Ms. Rivera.
Just a couple of things. I want to congratulate the boys soccer, the boys basketball, the girls basketball, and the wrestling team for the great job that they're doing on the sport and getting into CIF. I also want to remind everybody that it's Consular Appreciation Week this week, and I definitely want to thank our counselors because they really had a lot to do and work with our students, especially coming back from COVID. So I want to thank them for their hard work and know that they are appreciated, and the students do have a lot of faith in them. So thank them, all of them, for their work. And I want to thank everybody that's been here, and happy Valentine's. Have a safe and happy Valentine's for everybody.
Thank you. Ms. Forrest.
Good evening, Bassett. I'd like to start by asking for your continued thoughts and prayers to all families and loved ones who are dealing with COVID still. Even though they say the numbers are going down, we still have some families that are really dealing with it strong. I really ask for that, your continued thoughts and prayers, and continue please to be safe. I'd also like to ask that we keep Mr. Robert Watanabe and family in our thoughts and prayers. You know, his passing, you know, I know he was a really great superintendent here in this district. I did not have the opportunity to meet him. That beautiful building is named after him. So on that note, congratulations to all our sports and our teams that made CIF. This is really a great accomplishment coming from the fall as well. So it's really doing good, and it's nice to know students have, you know, something that they can have there. And you know, sports isn't out for some students; it isn't out for them. So hopefully we continue. Thank you to the coaches that are putting their time and effort into the training and everything like that. I'm continuing to be safe. So with regards to what is currently going on in the district, I hope we all understand that as a board, we do have a fiduciary responsibility to make the best use of taxpayer dollars. And so we truly do understand the situation with the salaries of employees. We do value all. Please know that we are trying our best to work within the funds allocated. Okay. I do feel sorry that some people see this as a disrespect, because nothing could be farther from the truth. And I do also like to ask, as a parent mentioned, let's work together. Let's each do our homework. You know, make sure that we have the accurate data and that we're passing along the accurate data. Because it's really hard to sit up here and hear this, because I do feel for everybody, okay? Because I'm single too. But anyway, other than that, so hopefully we can work together and come up with something that could not just provide an immediate need, but longevity as well, okay? Hoping we can get to that point. As far as anything else, happy Valentine's Day to everybody. Thank you for those of you that stayed. We really do appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Flores. Ms. Stanzioni.
Again, I'd like to congratulate Bassett High School for continuing to have a fantastic year, whether it's boys soccer, boys basketball, girls basketball, or boys wrestling. They continue to show the world that the Olympians are the champions and go Olympians. On a sadder note, well, on a different note, I've opted to put my other notes aside and just make a couple of comments about some pretty spectacular people that came through this district. I first had the chance to meet Bob Watanabe when my sister was a student at this school. I had already gone by, I'm way older than she is. And he was a kind and gentle and very soft-spoken man. And when he left this district, he was still a kind, a gentle, and a soft-spoken man. And he was a delight. He was one of those people you're glad you can say that he worked at Bassett. That was awesome. The second person that we mourn now and we keep in our prayers and our thoughts, Jose Reynoso. I first met him when I was teaching at Edgewood. I was teaching 8th grade, and he came in to be our vice principal. And he impressed me the minute he said he moved into our neighborhood because this is where he wanted to learn about our people. And that meant more than anything. He, again, was a kind and gentle soul. And when you talked to him, you felt good, nice guy. But he wanted to be among the kids that he worked with. And that meant more than anything. And we do keep him and Bob Watanabe's family in our prayers. It's a sad day. And I know that Mr. Barajas is going to make note of some other people that we've lost. Just stay safe out there and tell people you love them because tomorrow's not promised. Night.
Thank you, Ms. Danzioni. Yes, I would like to reserve my time to just talk about a few of our Bassett family who has unfortunately passed away. I'll start with Mr. Robert Watanabe. Mr. Watanabe served the Bassett community for 39 years. His career began as a teacher at Torch Middle School in 1971. Following his tenure as a teacher, Mr. Watanabe served as a principal for over 15 years at Torch Middle School, Sunkist Elementary, Edgewood Academy. He then served as a district administrator and director of adult education from 1995 to 2004, until he was appointed superintendent in 2004. Mr. Watanabe served as Bassett superintendent until his retirement in 2009. We also just recently heard of the unfortunate passing of Mr. Reynoso, who was also part of the Bassett family. He was the superintendent here at Bassett. And there's a few additional deceased retirees. Martha Escobedo, who was part of our HR team. Rosemary Campos, who was a Head Start teacher. Alexander Ferguson, who's also a teacher. And Natalie Barcelao, who was an instructional assistant of special education. May they rest in peace. Thank you, everyone. We move on to item number 11, discussion.
Mr. Watanabe was that he led the committee to start Edgewood Academy, to make it a K-8. And I was in that committee with him as well as the ex-board member, Ms. Brenda Johnson, to start not only Edgewood Academy, but we were the first district in the San Gabriel Valley to do uniforms. And it was all thanks to this hard work that we did committees to get all that going. So I want to thank you for organizing that and getting all that.
Ms. Ferrero. Item number 11, discussion. Item 1, public comments. Quick summary board abstract. Can I open it for discussion? Can I get a motion? I'm sorry, to open discussion. To open it for discussion. So public comments, quick summary / board abstract.
Okay. Okay.
What do you really want to talk about? So we'll table it. Okay. So we're going to motion to table it. It was brought by a board member. So we'll motion to table it. Okay.
Yes,
Let's change it then. So can I get a motion to table item number?
I moved by the table item number 1.
Okay.
I second.
Okay. So second by Ms. Anzioni. Okay, roll call, Mr. Rivera,
Aye.
Ms. Flores. Ms. Anzioni.
Aye.
And aye, motion carries 4-0. Item number 12, consent calendar. All matters listed under consent calendar are considered by the board to be items that will be enacted by the board in one motion. There will be no discussion of these items prior to the time that the board votes on motion unless members of the board, staff, or public request specific items to be discussed and or removed from the consent calendar. So I will motion to table item number 4, agreement for legal services, Olivares Madruga, is to be tabled. So that's my motion to table.
I second.
To table number 1. And
think we have
to
number
act on that
27
motion
on,
We have to act on that motion first. I think.
we have to do one first.
We could probably add it, so I could add it. So I'll motion to table number 4 and number 1, approve minutes of regular board meeting of
And,
January 25.
And on,
Number 9.
11?
and on personnel actions, I would like to table number 27.
Oh, number 9, personnel actions, number 27.
I second the motion to table number 1, number 4, and number 9, number 27 under number 9.
So do we want to pull it for discussion or do we want to
I
table?
want to table.
Oh, table.
Yeah, we
Number-
wanna table.
Item 27 on number 9.
Item 27 and number 9.
Item number, yes, under 9.
Item 27. Okay. Okay, so this will be my motion then. Well, I mean, can I just take what you're saying and because I already made the motion? Okay, so I will just add because I had made the motion already. So the motion right now on the table is to table item number 1, to table item number 4, and to table item 27 and number 9. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay,
Second.
so second, so I motion, and just try to make sure that I know that I wrote it. And stands the only second. Okay, here we go. So roll call, Ms. Rivera,
Table?
to table.
Aye.
Ms. Flores?
Aye.
Ms. Anzioni?
Aye.
And aye. So motion carries for that to be tabled. 4-0. Okay, now I need a motion to approve the consent calendar.
So moved.
So you move,
Minus 1, 4, and
Correct.
9, number 27.
Second.
Anzioni. Second by Flores. No, I'm sorry, by Rivera. Oh, let's do that. Okay, here we go. Roll call.
Aye.
Ms. Rivera, Ms. Flores,
Aye.
Ms. Anzioni.
Aye.
And aye, motion carries 4-0. Okay. Item number 13, adjournment. Our next regular board meeting is February 22nd, 2 weeks, 2022. Adjournment of regular board meeting of February 8th, 2022. Can I get a motion?
Second.
Ms. Flores. Second by Sanzioni. Okay, roll call, Ms.
Aye.
Ms. Flores? Aye. Ms. Anzioni?
Aye.
And aye. Motion carries. The meeting is adjourned at 8:54 p.m. 8:54